Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing's second race of Series 5, live tonight from the virtual Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports here, as we at Podium bring you another season of PCA Sim Racing alongside our producer, Ryan Bauer, powered by Top Flight Computers, and Taylor Burrish. And we travel east for tonight's race. We started off our season out at WeatherTech Raceway in Laguna Seca 1 week ago. We head up into Canada for our second event of 8 over the course of Series 5. You take a look at the big blue and green Google Earth to show you where we are in the world. Not terribly far away from the greater Toronto area. We're about an hour outside of downtown Toronto and in good racing country. This is not the longest of road courses, but it is very technical, very tricky, and can be a lot of fun and should be very entertaining all around. We work our way through qualifying at the moment. Not too many drivers left to rock and roll, but Matt Dialoso with the fast time at the moment. He throws down a 1:24.504 as it stands to take the top spot. And it will be Dialoso who will be fighting alongside and with Ian Simon, who won last week at Laguna Seca. Those two look to be the clear favorites amongst the field here in this first class of 4 tonight, the challenge class, the introductory class to PCA Sim Racing. So the folks who are newest to iRacing and newest to PCA Sim Racing are going to find their way here. But that's not to say that they aren't fast just because they're new. We'll be seeing the times drop a little bit over the course of the evening, but everybody in this class with plenty of speed, and everybody here, I think, for a very big show across the board. Show you how to get around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and to do that, we'll bring in the champion of the Pro class for Series 4 out of the Northern New Jersey region, Michael Polasek.
Hello, this is Michael Polasek, and this is a quick hot lap of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in the Porsche Cayman GT4. So coming up to the final corner now, you want to get as close to that inside curve as possible, then smoothly get on the power, use all of that outside curve to get yourself ready for turn 1. Turn 1's a quick right-hander, trail brake all the way to the apex, and then floor it on the way out. The rear end's going to slide around a little bit, but shift over to the right-hand side to get ready for turn 2. Trail brake for the first part of the apex, and then floor it for the second part of this double apex corner using as little steering angle as possible to get yourself ready for turn 3. Turn 3 is deceptively challenging right-handers to trail brake once again to the apex, get hard on the power afterwards, use as little steering angle as possible to keep the rear end in check, and shift over to the right-hand side for the Continental Tire Bridge corner. Lift off the gas a little bit to put some weight on the front tires to make sure that you can turn in for the corner. Use that inside edge of that second curb to get yourself ready for Moss Corner. As you see there, I trail braked all the way to the apex and then floored it on the way out, getting on the power as soon as I dared to make sure that I get a really good run onto this back straight. The back straight's extremely important because that's where a lot of overtaking moves are made or broken. If you don't get a good run, you're not going to be able to set up a move into this final sector, which is probably the most challenging sector on the entire track. Then you trail brake for this part of this double apex corner and then get hard on the power using as much of that inside road camber as possible to get yourself set up for the final 2 corners. Control your speed for the final 2 corners. Make sure that you don't run wide for this final corner. Use all of that outside curve, get hard on the power as soon as you dare, and you're across the line. And that is a lap of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
There's a former champion of PCA Sim Racing, Michael Polasek, to get you around MoSport, as it was known in the past. And we now turn our attention to the starting grid for the challenge class, the first race of 4 this evening, which is brought to you by Haggerty. Matt Dialoso will retain that starting spot P1, and he'll drive away first. Ian Simon won last week. He'll start second. Chris Pippin rolls off of the 3rd spot. 4th will be the 16 of Daniel Rubero. Ken Tubman begins tonight from the 5th spot. 6th is where you'll find Ed Eisenring. Scott Farish begins tonight from 7th. 8th will be where you find the 8 car of Justin Moreno. Jim Hemming, National Marketing Director for the PCA, starts 9th. 10th will be the 61 of John Crook.
Starting in the 11th position will be Aaron Ambrientino, followed by Jose Rivas in 12th position. In the 13th position will be Chris Zabrowski, followed by Scott Rogers in 14th. David Trinder will be starting in the 15th position with David Purdy in 16th. 17th position will be J.R. Gregory, followed by Kim Frick in 18th. 19th will be Ken Nielsen, and rounding out your top 20 will be Abraham Jones.
John Bradley starts on 21st. 22nd will be Anchor Birdsong. Michael Burgoyne rolls off from 23rd. 24th will be Mark Granoff. Adam Fox begins tonight a little bit further back in the field. He starts behind Robert Benson, who rolls off from 24th and 25th rather, and 26th, which is where you'll find Scott McSherry. Fox is 27th, and Andrew Hillman rolls off from the 28th position. Quick look at the track facts before we go racing from Canadian Tire. This is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. It's a 2.459 mile, 3.957 kilometer circuit with 10 turns. We race at the beginning of daybreak. It's about 7:10 local time in sim on the default day for iRacing, May 15th, 2020. Weather is very stable, 69 degrees Fahrenheit, 70 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, but humidity all the way up to 99%. You can see it in the fog, and we look forward to seeing how that dissipates as the action on track heats us up and gets us set to go as these drivers get ready to tackle this very, very entertaining road course in our first race of the night for the Challenge class, which is presented to you by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, the shop, and much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. This is an open setup series. Drivers can put whatever setups they choose on these cars, but for those who don't have the time or might not necessarily be a master of building setups, setups are available for these drivers, courtesy of our friends at the Virtual Racing School. So big thanks to VRS for their support of PCA Sim Racing as well. As we take off, Matt Dialosa leads us to green, and we are underway here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The second round of Series 5 is underway. Dialosa gets a good jump ahead of Ian Simon. Those two go 1-2 off of the corner, and they think out very quickly into turn one. A lot of S's and a lot of sweeping corners to split this field up in short order, and maybe not a surprise that we're already pretty much single file as we make our way down towards Moss Corner at the bottom of the hill for the first time, Taylor. Still Matt Dialosa in control of second and the lead. Michael Burgoyne running into trouble early. So Dialosa, then Simon, then Pippin, then Daniel Rubel and Ken Tubman. That's really where your first good battle, I think, is carrying on over Moss Corner. They go down the Mario Andretti straightaway, which is one of the longest we're going to see all season in PCA sim racing. And one of these very important straightaways, because this car is so momentum-based, the exit out of Moss Corner will mean a lot on every single lap that you see here tonight with every single driver that takes part in tonight's event. Dialosa, your leader, then Simon, then Pippin. We'll slide a little bit further back, start looking for some of the good battles, make our way back to 15th and 16th. David Trinder and Scott Rogers are your battle at that spot as they come around the final corner back across the front straightaway for the first time. Trinder, part of the metropolitan New York region. Rogers, a new driver this week as we get set for action. And TB, I think it says a lot about this track. It looks very simple on a map, but I think it says a lot that a lot of these drivers have already strung themselves out.
Most certainly have sorted themselves out single file for the most part around the field.
Single file across the board as everybody continues to stretch their way out waiting to see where the battle packs develop. It takes a little bit to figure out where your groups are going to be and who's equal on pace and where the battles are going to be consistently all night long. Looks like you've got a pretty good spread between Dialosa and Simon and Pippin and Rubel. It's even just about, and then you slide back to Scott Ferris in 7th. That's your first really good battle. Here comes Justin Moreno, who's part of Team Haggerty. Of course, Haggerty, the premier partner of the challenge class, and also have a few drivers in the field. So we'll keep an eye on Moreno as one of our Team Haggerty members in this event. But he all over the rear bumper of Scott Ferris trying to find 7th, Taylor.
He certainly is. I mean, he is all over the place trying to put the pressure on the Haggerty car in front of him as they are working their way up to Clayton now. Still going to be nose to tail, single file in that corner. And it's going to be very difficult through there as you could easily go off as you come out of turn 2, but setting up for turn 3 will be critical for the run to Moss Corner. So as you see, looks like one of the drivers that is currently Scott Ferris goes a little bit wide right there, but is able to hold on to his position.
Scott Ferris out of the Oregon region, originally from Billings, Montana. He's been sim racing for 5 years and got involved. Oh, trouble there for Moreno just a little bit further back, but he'll slide down the running order, and Ferris will now be unchallenged for 7th. But at any rate, Ferris has been racing since Series 4 in the spring. Was very, very excited to bring home P4 last week at Laguna Seca, and he's certainly new to iRacing, but also very, very excited. Loves the 917K as his favorite Porsche, and also owns a Cayman himself. So I think if you want a good sense of the level at which PCA members take themselves seriously, he told us, and I quote, "I'm actually too old to be doing this, but I can't help myself." But I would argue if he's got a top 10 run going, Taylor, then I don't necessarily know if that's true.
I think he is enjoying this and definitely has the skills. I think age is just a number for him as he is out there putting on a great run. Currently sitting in that 7th position, closing in on Ed Ezering.
Ed Eisenring, another one of the new drivers in the 929 machine. A little bit of a gap between those two. It's about 2 seconds between Eisenring and Ferris. The better battle is just behind Ferris because you've got John Crook and Chris Savarowski, those two 8th and 9th all over the place. And you see Savarowski just twitching a little bit on entry into Moss Corner. But Moss Corner, I think, is a fun one because you can use the incline right there at the end of the corner to help sort of turn the car. You can lean into the banking there. It almost, I feel like the best analogy is almost a half pipe in a skate ring where you make that turn on that incline, and because you're working on an incline, it helps to set your car up for the exit, and you can actually use the track to help you get around in a way that you wouldn't necessarily see with most spots as Crook goes wide in the S's, and Savarowski will pass him, as will Daniel Rubel. John Crook will slide back to 9th. Savarowski up to 7th now.
Yeah, he really overshot that corner going through the S's. It's a very easy corner to overshoot. You feel like you can carry so much speed into that corner. It's very difficult to keep an eye on your braking zones. Fortunately, he didn't go into the walls or the tire barriers. He was able to just drive it right back on course, but losing 2 positions.
So Savarowski in 7th, Daniel Rubel up to 8th. We'll take a look at the number 16 as well. Rubel, a newcomer to PCA Sim Racing 4 Series 5. Started in the summer as the pandemic broke out. He hails from Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. He's part of the Reason Total region of the PCA that covers the greater Philadelphia area. A big fan of the 997.2, since he has one, of course. Also is an avid autocrosser and a 5-time champion of the Reason Total Reason's annual Autocross Championship Cup Series. So I would imagine he's got some experience in the tight and technical parts of these racetracks, Taylor Burris. Autocrossing tends to lend itself well to those sorts of tracks. You see a little bit of that here. This track may be a little bit more flowy than most, but still, I have to believe that there's got to be a bit of transition and a bit of crossover between the skills that you would need to autocross successfully and the skills you need to sim race successfully, no?
Could not agree with you more. Any form of real-life racing experience that you have can help you pertain in the sim racing, as well as vice versa. And you can see that with Daniel Rubel right there. He is running pretty strong, running inside the top 10. He did have one small little mistake coming out of Moss. He got the car a little bit too tail happy, spun it around, but made no contact, was able to continue on. He was up as high as inside the top 5, so had a little bit of work to do, but he is closing in on Chris Zaborowski and Scott Ferris now as they come up to Quebec corner.
A tremendous battle here as they work their way through Quebec corner and back towards that long run downhill towards the ball circuit, and it's not even a question. There goes Scott Ferris back as they're going to let Zaborowski jump up into the 6th position. So Zaborowski now P6, 7th to Ferris, Rubel there, and then John Crook, who went off just a little bit ago as one car goes off amongst the group there. But John Crook was off in the S's maybe 2 or 3 laps ago, TB, and all of a sudden he's back up right on the rear bumper of Ferris and Rubel, trying to work his way up into 7th and maybe 6th if they can go get Zaborowski.
Yeah, he's got to be careful on that entry into the S's up ahead as they come down the Mario Andretti straightaway here, but I think he learned his lesson. Let's see what he does. He dives it in there, tries to hug that apex just enough, wash it up, and then bring it to the next apex before setting up for White's corner just up ahead. He gets a little bit loose right there into the corner of that entry, but is able to recover. So have to try again the next time around, but still has gained quite a bit of time, about 6/10 between him and Scott Ferris.
Big lap there, and Crook was 2 seconds faster than Ferris that last time by. As were Zaborowski and Rubel. Ferris was in the 29s, and Zaborowski, Rubel, and Crook and company all in the 26s, 27s, but all paling in comparison to Matt Dialosa, who is ahead of Ian Simon by 4/10 and Chris Pippin by 6/10 of a second as they all carry their way into Moss Corner amongst the leaders. You're right on board with Simon there momentarily as Dialosa leads them down the straight, and Simon, I think, might have overdriven the corner on the exit of the Moss complex, and now goes sideways and bounces off into the grass and spins out on the Mario Andretti straightaway, and that will immediately, I think, take him out of contention for tonight's win and hand over the 2nd position to Chris Pippin in the 12, who is now a second behind Dialosa for the race lead.
He is, but he is closing in. He was actually 2/10 of a second faster than Matt Dialosa that time around as they now come out of White's corner. Let's look at the timing and scoring, see how close he was able to gain. He's now got it to 7/10 of a second as they come across the line, and he ran, let's say 6/10 of a second faster than Matt Dialosa. So Chris Pippin is going to be on the move right now as Ken Tudman, who's about 4 seconds fat, he set the fastest lap on the previous go-round. So those 2 drivers right there could have something for our race leader, Matt Dialosa.
Dialosa, who's only been sim racing for 4 weeks, less than a month. The driver out of the Rocky Mountain region who calls Fort Collins, Colorado home. Just got a C license last week, but also happens to love the Cayman more than any other Porsche in existence. So you figure you stick him in a Cayman, he'll be pretty quick, and that's exactly what we're seeing here between Dialosa and the 12 of Pippin, though that's not to say that Pippin's putting the pressure on hard as they come down the Mario Andretti straightaway.
Yeah, you saw that big late entry into Moss Corner from Chris Pippin. He was just actually could touch the back bumper of Matt Dialosa if he wanted to, but then that corner exit that Dialosa was able to gain on Chris Pippin shows that he is able to take care of that car, take care of the brakes, and make sure they get the best runoff corner exit. Let's see what Chris Pippin can do as they come through the S's right now. He hugs that inside line, tries to stay in the tire tracks of race leader Matt Dialosa as they approach White's corner and complete another lap here as we are closing in on 18 minutes to go left on the clock.
As they will continue to shuffle around this racetrack, and just about 18 minutes left in this race or so. But Dialosa leading Chris Pippin 1 and 2. Ken Tubman now holds 3rd and Eisenring 4th, and then you have to stretch it way back. We're going to slide a little bit further back to the 13th position because we've got a great battle between Anker Bergson, Ken Nielsen, Kim Frick, Jim Hemig in the mix. Looks like one other car there too. Jose Rivas is also in that bunch too, although he's a lap down. But a lot of really good racing as they work their way through the S's, Taylor.
Yeah, Kim Frick is definitely on a charge, about 2 seconds faster than Ken Nielsen, and then about another 5 seconds faster than Egerbert Saunier. So a definite hard charger for the 19 Porsche as they come across the start-finish line and heading into turn 1 there. He is definitely a man to be on the watch tonight.
So many big-time names that we need to worry about. Bergson is the first one in this group. He's out of the Northeast region that covers the greater Boston area, out of Stowe, Massachusetts. He's been sim racing for a year and a half, involved in PCA sim racing for a year, and has been an instrumental part in putting together the Northeast region's sim racing team. Owns a 2004 Boxster S, and also is a believer that you are never too old to start sim racing, which, in fairness, I would 100% wholeheartedly agree with. Because I think it's a great illustration of the big guiding principle behind PCA sim racing, where the cars might not be real, but the racing is.
Well, isn't it true, if I remember correctly, we have someone on the iRacing service that's 90 years old on here, and I heard is quite competitive sometimes.
Sounds about right. Makes sense. Ken Nielsen rides right behind Anchor Bergson. Nielsen is one of the Lone Star region members out of Richmond, Texas. Got involved during the pandemic. Been sim racing for 6 months, with PCA sim racing for 4 months. Big fan of the slant nose 930 Porsche. Originally hails from Denmark. Runs a Porsche 930 twin turbo based RSR from 1993, and the GT2 PCA Club racing at Circuit of the Americas over the past 10 years. Also holds a track record at Texas World Speedway.
Ooh, sorry about that. We have to go to the Moss corner right quick. David Trinder and John Crook make hard contact coming into Moss. David Trinder got loose under braking, causing him to lose control of his Porsche Cayman, and then making hard contact with the 61 of John Crook. Let's see if we can get a replay of that.
It was a big incident. You called it perfectly. Just looked like Trinder got tight on the brakes and got too hard on the brakes and tried to spin himself out to avoid hitting anyone, and in turn ended up getting into John Crook, unfortunately. So those two wind up beached at Moss Corner. Lose a little bit of track position. They didn't lose all that much in the race standings, but damage to both of those race cars.
I think it's safe to say John is driving on 3 wheels probably right about now. I saw a tire come off one of those 2 drivers right now, but we still see John Croak out there on the track right now still.
We shall see how it goes as we will work our way past the halfway points here, and as we clear halfway, it is time to bring you your Midway race break, which is brought to you for the challenge class by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, the shop, and much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. Dielos is still your race leader in this event. He is now trailed by Chris Pippen. Ken Tubman holds the 3rd position, and 4th belongs to Ed Eisenring. Chris Zaborowski is up to 5th after starting 13th. 6th is where you'll find Daniel Rubel. Scott Ferris runs right where he started in 7th. 8th is where you'll find Scott Rogers. Aaron Ambrosino is up to 9th, and David Trinder, even after that incident, rides in 10th.
Currently sitting in the 11th position is Scott McSherry, followed by John Croak in the 12th position after his incident that he had with Trinder. Sitting in 13th is Anchor Bergson, followed by Ken Nielsen in 14th. Jim Hemmick is sitting in the 15th position with Justin Marino in 16th, and then 17th is Kim Frick. 18th is the last car on the lead lap of Abraham Jones, with Mark Granoff is sitting 19th, first car 1 lap down. Rounding out your top 20, John Bradley.
J.R. Gregory is 21st. 22nd is Jose Rivas. 23rd belongs to Adam Fox, and David Purdy rides in 24th. 25th belongs to Michael Burgoyne. Ian Simon is 26th after his incident on the Mario Andretti straightaway, and Robert Benson rides in 27th. And that concludes our iRacing Midway race break, brought to you by Hagerty for the challenge class. Hagerty, let's drive together. iRacing, of course, the platform, the world's premier online motorsports simulation that allows you to jump in all kinds of different cars on all different kinds of racetracks, including this very Porsche GT4. This very fantastic Cayman on a lot of the great road courses of the world. We have a lot coming up for you on the calendar in Series 5. Plenty more places to go to. Daytona is on the list. Suzuka is on the list. Barber Motorsport Park is what will be next week for the very first time. Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Circuit of the Americas all on the docket for Series 5. You will not want to miss the action over the course of September and October here on the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel or wherever you may be watching us this evening.
I gotta say, each and every season that comes by, the schedule, the drivers, the competition just continues to get better and better. I mean, great racing here, especially even in this class here. Matt Dialosa still holding quite strong by about a 1.1 second lead over Chris Pippen, but it's still competitive. Anything can happen between now and when the checkered flag falls to here today. We've seen that happen multiple times, even inside the top 5. And I gotta say, all of these drivers out here on the track are putting on a great show tonight.
An impressive show indeed, as Dialosa has been turning on the wick on everyone. But a good battle further back. Scott Ferris and Scott Rogers in with locked horns pretty well. And Rogers new this week to the competition, but putting on a strong showing in his 7.37. 7.18. If you want to get tripped up in a little bit of numerology for you, but Rogers currently running in, well, 7th. So I guess it's a lucky number after all, Taylor.
Certainly is. He is definitely putting the pressure on Scott Ferris right now as they come up to White's corner. So they're doing a great job, still battling strong as they come up to White's. As you see, Ferris gets a little bit of a better entry and exit compared to Scott Rogers, but Rogers is able to then find a way to get a little extra speed off corner exit of White and then continue down the front straightaway. See if he can carry that momentum into turn 1 to try to gain a little bit of ground on Scott Ferris, but a great battle between the two drivers as they're actually, I believe that's a lap car in front of them, sir. Oh no, that is Daniel. Nope, that is the lap car in front of them right now. So they'll have to continue on as that car goes off track. As we've talked about earlier, very difficult corner to try and keep on the track.
It's a difficult stretch, that opening run here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. After you clear the start-finish line, the run through 1, 2, and 3, turn 1, and then Clayton corner and Quebec corner that leads you down into Moss corner. Very big elevation changes, wide sweeping S's where you think you can put the power down way earlier than you actually can, and it can get you into trouble more often than not. So something that these drivers are going to have to watch. It's not necessarily an issue compared to what you'd see maybe the 911 RSR GTEs or the 911 GT3 Cup cars, but certainly something that can be tricky all the same.
Well, these cars are more mechanically inclined, more mechanical grip than they are aerodynamic dependency, as we now see Scott Rogers get around Scott Ferris for that 6th position. So momentum is going to be the critical factor for these GT4 cars. I mean, it's going to be a matter of where to place it, where to carry that speed off corner exit to help propel you down the straightaway or through a certain section of corners. So these drivers are trying to learn where that sweet spot is for these corners and these cars in order to gain time on their competition here. And we've seen that with Scott Rogers. He utilized a little bit of the slipstream down the Andretti straightaway to help propel him around Scott Ferris before they got into the S's. So a great opportunity for him as they work their way through the field.
We'll take a moment to remind you that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by the Z1 Analyzer. The Z1 Analyzer is aimed at improving the most important part of the car, you, the driver. The Z1 Analyzer provides a lap overview, driving line analysis, braking analysis, and turn analysis, so you can quickly find out where you can improve your lap times and consistency. Get into the winner's circle more often with the Z1 Analyzer and the Z1 Dashboard. Visit www.z1dashboard.com for more information. As is the case with each week of PCA Sim Racing, Z1 Analyzer is offering a free software package to one PCA Sim Racing E2E student each Friday. Tonight's lucky winner, Klaus Nielsen from the Lone Star region in the PCA Club class. Now, for those who are uninitiated with that wonderful, wonderful PCA Sim Racing EDE program. It provides all kinds of coaching from entry-level drivers in iRacing to the most advanced racers in PCA Sim Racing. And if you want to get involved with EDE, you can sign up for the program at PCASimRacing.com/EDE. And you too may be the next winner of the Z1 Analyzer Sim Racing software package. So congratulations to Klaus tonight on winning the big prize.
Looking around at timing and scoring right now, Chris Pippen has taken the race lead, so that makes me wonder what happened to Dialosa right now.
I can tell you exactly what happened to Matt Dialosa. He made contact with Chris Pippen a few laps ago. Pippen had finally caught him, and Pippen was down on the inside, and they made contact to the apex of the corner, and both went sideways. Dialosa lost his rear wing, but eventually Pippen was able to get back going, and Pippen now in control of the race, and Dialosa well down in the order, back to 5th now, and without much of a rear wing. So he is relying heavily on mechanical grip at this stage. As you look at Chris Siborowski, who rides in P3 at the moment.
Yes, Siborowski having a great run. Started out towards the back half of the field, now has climbed his way into a podium position. About 1.2 as he sees a little bit of trouble up ahead of him with some lap cars. Can he avoid it? He will barely get by the lap car right there. So a great job of a wreck avoidance. But he's about 1.6 seconds back from Ken Tudman to get into second. But they are still running around consistent lap times, actually faster than our race leader, Chris Pippen, who is struggling getting through lap traffic at this time.
We'll dive in a little bit more to Ken Tubman while we have a moment. About 6 minutes left in this race. Ken Tubman, another one of the drivers that hails from the Lone Star region, and got into sim racing when the pandemic broke out, as has been a very popular story over the course of the year. This is his first series with PCA Sim Racing, and he was P3 1 week ago at Laguna Seca. He originally set up his rig to learn how to get around the Nordschleife when his sons got him to Germany to go tackle that fantastic racetrack for his 60th birthday. And when he got his rig set up, his first lap in iRacing, you want to guess where it was, Taylor?
I'm going to make a wild guess and say the Nordschleife.
It was at the Nordschleife, indeed. So he's gone from the hardest track of them all, no question, to pretty much all the tracks in iRacing. And he'll see a good variety in the PCA Sim Racing schedule over the course of the fall.
There goes Chris Pippen, our race leader, around.
As Chris Pippen goes around, so everybody all over the place here at the end of this, and Tubman now assumes the race lead as Pippen caught the grass on the exit of turn 1. Same thing I think we saw John Malia do in Series 3 when they came here with the Cup cars. But back to Tubman, who is now your race leader ahead of Siborowski by just a little bit. He has plenty of experience with the Cayman and the GT4s by far. He's got a 2016 Cayman GT4 that has the full Sharkworks treatment, and of note, you know he's a purist when he says they have the engine in the proper location. Back of the car, as always.
Of course, wouldn't have it any other way for a Porsche. As we now watch the battle for the race lead right now, it is 3 cars under a blanket. Ken Tubman, Chris Siborowski, who tried to take a peek to the outside, and Daniel Rubel right there as well at 0.3 of a second back. A great battle here in the closing minutes at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. They are now finishing out, coming out of the S's, heading to White's corner. Can Siborowski try and close the gap between him and Ken Tubman as they come out of White's?
I'd be curious to see. I don't necessarily, actually, no. A very, very excellent piece here. If you haven't had the chance to take a peek, if we look at the back of Ken Tubman's car, you'll see a very tight inscription that says "driven, not polished," and that is very intentional. That comes from a quote from the man himself, Mr. Ferdinand Porsche, who founded Porsche AG over 100 years ago, and goes back to the point that Ferdinand Porsche wanted to push above all else, that cars are meant to be driven, not polished. I think that says a lot about Tubman's philosophy in driving and in racing, and you can see the speed on his car. Incredibly quick, and now only about 3 minutes away from a race victory, but he's going to have to hold off Soborowski and Rubel.
It's going to be a tight battle, a dogfight these final 3 minutes. They're working down the Andretti straightaway, and let's see if Soborowski will try and see if he'll take the outside. He is in the slipstream of Ken Tubman as they approach the S's. He is going to take a peek to the outside, see if he could go a later entry in. Can't quite get close enough to Ken Tubman as they come out of the S's, heading over to White's. Tubman just trying to find a hole to get to the inside or outside into White's. Here comes Daniel Rubel as well. He gets a great run out of White's corner, but can't close the deal as they come off corner exit. 2.5 minutes to go.
Ken Tubman, your leader here, trying to hang on for victory, but really tight battle amongst this top three. And you could almost argue that the battle between Soborowski and Rubel is just as tight, if not tighter, than the battle between Soborowski and Tubman for the race lead. But it's this trio all within 0.6 of one another, with maybe about 3 laps to go tops here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Ooh, Soborowski gets a little bit loose coming out of Quebec corner, so he's got to take control of that car. Hold on for dear life now as they go downhill before they make the incline up to Moss corner. Gets into the braking zone. Both of the two drivers right there are making a great entry in. Let's see what they can do at getting the power down as they come off corner exit and down the Andretti straight.
So it is Lone Star versus San Diego. That's the region that Soborowski hails from, versus Rubel from the region total. So spread out across Pennsylvania and Texas and California, these three drivers in real life. And thousands of miles may separate them in real life, but it's only maybe tenths of a second, if that, as Soborowski had a look entering the S's coming off of the Mario Andretti straight. And as we look at the clock, they will get the white flag this time by. One more lap to go in the Series 2 Challenge Class race presented by Haggerty. Race 2 of Series 5 for these drivers coming down to the final lap here in Ontario.
Here they go through turn 1 for the final time. Both of them getting a great run off there as they make the run up to Clayton right now. That down corner, hill corner, they got a little bit of lap traffic in front of them, so that could come into play for these three drivers. One mistake could cost them a chance of victory here as they come up to Quebec.
Can Ken Tubman hang on? Through Quebec corner they go. Soborowski and Rubel with a better drive. Lap traffic now in the way. That slowed up Tubman just a little bit. Mark Granoff there. These drivers are going to clear. Ooh, and it was close. Soborowski nearly clipped the lap machine, and poor Daniel Rubel had nowhere to go as they get through Moss Quarter for the final time, safe and sound. So maybe one more shot for Soborowski going into the S's once they come off the Andretti straight.
This is the time where he needs to utilize the slipstream right here to catch up to Ken Tubman to try to get a peek to the inside as they go through the S's. He's closing. It's now half a second, 0.3 of a second, ever so close to the opportunity to take home a checkered flag here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And then you see Ken Tubman late into the braking zone to try and pull away.
But he's in very good shape. Stretched it out on the entry into the S's off the Mario Andretti straight. And even though there's one lap car in the way for Ken Tubman, it won't matter as the 27 machine comes across the start-finish line. And Ken Tubman wins the challenge class tonight, round 2 of Series 5 for this class, presented by Haggerty to Ken Tubman out of the Lone Star region of the PCA. And he has driven, not polished, that car to victory lane tonight.
What a performance for Ken Tubman indeed here tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Worked his way up to the field and was able to hold off two hard-charging drivers.
A story of patience, I think, for the 27 machine above all else. You saw a few of the other drivers who had speed get in trouble and end up in the fence or in the grass somewhere. It was the case with Ian Simon and Matt Dialosa and Chris Pippen, and Tubman just kept it clean, kept it straight. He didn't necessarily have the outright fastest car, but he was the most consistent driver at the front of the field. And sometimes, Taylor Burris, in the end, that's enough.
Consistency is always key. Running clean laps, making sure you bring the car home in one piece will help guarantee you a great finish at any race you compete in.
We will hopefully get the chance to chat with Ken in just a moment, but we'll go over our full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished as Tubman gets the victory and he'll bring the win back home to Texas. Chris Zaborowski finished in second after starting 13th. Third was Daniel Rubel in the in the 16 car. He was P3. Fourth was Matt Dialosha in the 90. Scott Ferris finished in fifth. Sixth was Aaron Ambrosino. Seventh, Scott McSherry after starting 26. Hard Charger award goes to him tonight. Chris Pippen fell back to 8th after his incident. Justin Marino was 9th. 10th went to the 737 of Scott Rogers.
Finishing in 11th position is Anchor Bergson, followed by Jim Hemmed coming home in 12th position. In the 13th position, we'll go to Kim Frick, the last car on the lead lap. The first car one lap down will be John Krog, followed by Ed Ezering in 15th. 16th position will go to Abraham Jones, followed by David Trinder in 17th. 18th will go to John Bradley with Ken Nielsen in 19th. And rounding out your top 20, 2 laps down, Mark Granoff.
21st tonight was Jose Rivas. J.R. Gregory was 22nd. 23rd to the 21 of David Purdy. Michael Burgoyne was 24th. 25th went to Adam Fox. Robert Benson was 26th. Ian Simon at 27th. Andrew Hillman 28th to round out your full field rundown, and we'll wait and see if we can get Ken Tubman in for a word quickly. But Taylor Burris, pretty fun way to start off and an impressive run for these drivers when you had to race not only the track and the other cars and all these corner exits, but the fog as well. It was a thick fog enveloping Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Sim.
It's a great opportunity, and it definitely shows the skill. I mean, the fog definitely did come into play for some of these drivers as they had a tough time negotiating through the traffic here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We saw that through our first top 3 that came in leading the race, and then we, of course, had a new podium finish here tonight.
And Ken Tubman ends up at the top of it all, and he now joins us here in the booth. And Ken, we just made the point just a little bit ago, maybe not the fastest of machines tonight, but consistency. That seemed like it was the name of your game. Was that the game plan outright coming in here? Maybe take a little bit of the speed off to make sure that you didn't get yourself into trouble?
Yes, absolutely. Really, I was just trying to stay on the track and not make mistakes. And I've been racing with this team Q Cup, and these guys have taught me so much, and most of them are faster than me. So trying to keep up with them, I learned when to try to push and when to try to just keep it steady.
We talked a lot about the driven, not polished quote on the back of your car. I want to hear that story from your mouth and get a sense of where that comes from and why that's so important to you as a driver and a Porsche owner.
Well, so it started when there was a debate in our local Porsche club about racing, which provides most of the funds for our group, and show and shines and things like that. And there's a quote when they were taking Ferry Porsche around and looking at a whole field of his cars all nice and shiny. He said, "Isn't this great?" And Porsche reputedly said, "Nah, this makes me sad. My cars were meant to be driven, not polished." So that's what's on the back of my real race car, and I put it on the back of this one.
And it carried you to victory tonight. I know there are plenty of people that you need to thank for making it possible. But before we get to the thank yous, Barber next week, new for PCA Sim Racing. Any expectations on what we can expect when we go down to Birmingham?
Well, I think there's still some corners that are pretty tricky like there are on this track. So I think there'll be some wide disparities again. So.
And who do you need to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Well, I already thanked the Q Cup guys. I'll put them first, but I guess as a Q Cup tradition to also thank our wives for putting up with this crap.
The ladies and the team and everybody else in the Lone Star region as well. Pretty good combo all around, Ken. Congratulations from all of us at Podium Esports and the Porsche Club of America, and thanks as always for taking the time to hop up here with us and chat.
Thanks very much.
Ken Tubman, your race winner in the Challenge Clash presented by Haggerty. Let's drive together. We are not done, but if you're on YouTube, now is the time to go hit that little blue circle that says Sim Racing down in the lower right. If you pull yourself from full screen view, click that button. That takes you right back to the main page of the website, and you can flip over to the Sport Clash, brought to you by Leland West. That's our next broadcast. We're going to take a quick break to get ready for race number 2 of the evening, as Podium Esports will bring you more action from Series 5 of Porsche Club of America Sim Racing from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park right after this.